Another day. Another day at the tower. There's a tower behind me. I don't know if you could see it. It's covered in mist. The dark tower. Yeah. It's like, you see it and then you don't. It's just, this weather is just awful. It's so dreary. Oh my goodness. You can't even, why even get out of bed in the morning? Um, so once again, I came in here, um, kind of like fuming, ready to go. Once again, an itinerary pre-programmed of stuff I wanted to do and say, and then, but then what happens? I work on some art for a couple of hours, so instead of jumping in, getting off, on the train and then jumping into doing this first, talking about whatever and whatever I had on my mind, worked on some art, had some lunch, a nice lunch, and then now it's like getting late, and oh yeah, just all magically dissipated, all the fury, all the bad ideas and the bad thoughts in my head just kind of like evaporated, kind of like the mist behind me, and then you kind of feel like a fool, and you kind of feel like, oh, okay, well, geez, all it took was to just work on some art, which I suppose should do every day just to make sure that that mood, this whole thing doesn't crawl into me. And that's what's just crazy of how all this kind of like works. So, yeah, it's just been a weird week. Um, I don't even want to talk about it because, yeah, let's just say I'm not good at making or keeping friends at this point. Um, but the art's improving. One thing I noticed, I don't know if I mentioned this in one of the last things I've said. I took, I mentioned it on it's on the channel. I took two old films uh, I made. One that I didn't write but directed, and the other one I wrote and directed. And they didn't seem too strong on their own for whatever reasons that I'm not just going to go into. And but they were shot in the same neighborhood as my old hometown called Woodhaven. A couple of years apart, like 3 years apart. And I decided to merge them together into one film. Not too much editing, but just as in, like, I didn't edit the movies themselves too much. They're pretty much at what they were, but I just kind of I spliced them together. That certain points in the movie, like we go between one movie and the other. One movie's called 100 Proof. The other movie's called Remembering Woodhaven. And then I just turned them into some movie called Sons of Woodhaven because there's two characters, both sons. One is a funny thing is because both movies are about writers. One guy's he's his mother and him run a liquor store and he's a writer, and then I have another guy who has is a Slavic father and then he's a writer too. So it's like, yeah, okay, and the neighborhood pretty much looks the same on both kind of mediums. Like we use like digital. Um, Obviously, we shot them both digitally, but like movie style, 24 frames a second. And then we shoot shots of the avenue and everything. I'm like, why not put them together? Because they seem like, let's make the neighborhood the main character. So one is father and son, mother and son, dealing with the trials and tribulations of living in a neighborhood that's not so great. And for some reason, I did it last week. Last week, I had it edited for years, actually, and I just dug it up. I opened up the project file on my Adobe Premiere. I was just like, oh yeah, it's still there. Like it was fine. It was intact with all the edits. All I had to do was output it, and then I re-uploaded it. And the funny thing is, this thing has gotten more hits than both those movies combined. Now that they are combined, so like the viewership is just like, oh, for me it's skyrocketing. It's almost up to like 3,000 views in a week, which is, I don't know who was watching this movie. A couple of likes, whatever. But listen, it's not Citizen Kane. They are what they are. They're independent films with all their foibles. They look pretty good. I mean, the acting. Yeah, some of the acting's good, some of the acting's not so great, but I think together they just kind of create this really um, more in depth kind of thing. Like I can't even explain how each one augments the other, but I feel like when you kind of put, and I call it like also a diptych, like it's a kind of a film diptych. That's really what, and diptych is in the main title sequence. Like I say that right away. So I would have called the movie diptych, but I was like, Sons of Woodhaven, like Sons of Anarchy, that's like, yeah. Um, and then, yeah, and it's just like you're putting them together, and I realized that maybe the reason that they might be that way is because, why is my hair always sloppy? The reason it might be that way, it's because before you get too sunk into the story that's like maybe the original story of each one of these pictures, you kind of come out of it and then you're into this other story. And they're basically unrelated. The characters never really meet. They tread the same ground. They could, I mean, if I, for a couple of $100, I'm sure I can get the two main characters together and pass each other in the street and film it many years later. But from what it looks like, it's like before you get too critical, before you're like, like almost you feel like what's going to happen next, or you kind of like too like, okay, I just got to get through this movie, then the other movie kind of fades in. And then you go through that like 15 minutes of that story, and then we go back to the other story. And then we go back and forth like nicely, nothing, no jarring cuts, nothing Tarantino-esque, nothing clever. That's as clever as I got. Is just kind of taking two stories that were similar, shot literally across the street from each other, um, and yeah, let's just have them just kind of like hang out, you know. Since they kind of like, they're like, oh yeah, we're from the same neighborhood. Why not? Let's have a beer and be together as a film. So it's kind of interesting that you got more viewership if you do things that way, and that's what I talk about. Not that's I guess not religiously on this whatever I'm doing. It's not a podcast, YouTube channel. I don't even know what this is. Just me rambling half the time. That you have these ideas. You're committed to these ideas. You're committed to these projects. You're committed to these things. You put your all into it. And I put my all into both these projects. I put my all into every single thing. I don't cheat. I don't lie. An artist's job is to always find truth. I don't think of a dollar sign in my head. I don't really like artists that think about money. I really don't want to be involved on that end. Um, I know what it's like just to bear everything, do everything you can, and then it fails, right? Because you know, I fail all the time. I fail every day. I know most people say they're afraid to fail. I've been through this, but people say they're afraid to fail. I can't even imagine. I'm more afraid to succeed than to fail. Fail is easy. I wake up and I'm like, ugh. Like every, so to me, the idea of like, are you afraid to fail? No. How can I be? It's like I've been hit with a baseball bat of like this kind of like feeling for decades since I rolled onto the scene. Since I opened my eyes, it was like that. So then you feel like, okay, well, here's this movie, didn't do so great. Here's this other movie that didn't do so great. Put them together, see what happens. And that's, another time of reinventing the wheel, of just like, Why let them both just suffer if they can help each other? And there you go. And that's how you can, I guess that's how someone could rescue a project. That's how you could, and it's many years later, but whatever, the work holds up. But yeah, it's like, you never know if you could just pull something and take this and take that, and you're like, oh, all right, that might work better. Maybe I'll get better at this. Maybe it'll take me less time. Maybe it won't take decades for me to figure things out, as they usually do. Like, then they hit me. Anyway. Yeah. All right. I'll see you later.